Okay, folks, we're going to literally start in 1 minute. I saw a question from one of the audience. I will get back to you offline afterwards. Be specific, though, with whose name or whose contact you wanted. Okay, let me send the full name, and I will send it to you after we're finished with this with the call. Okay, just another 30 seconds, literally, and we're going to start. Okay, thank you all for your patience. We appreciate it. We're going to get started right now. I'm Barry Spielman, Product Marketing Director for Cybersecurity at Allot, and I'm very excited to be hosting this webinar. Today, we're going to be sharing with you our cyber threat report, which we do periodically throughout the year, and I know many of you wait to hear it. We're excited about the results that we like to share. We do this several times over the course of the year, in which we're going to look at how our telco partners, Allot's telco partners, that is, protect their subscribers using Allot Secure from cyber attacks. And in this case, we're going to be looking for the period from January to May to see how they were protected in that period, what kind of cyber attacks were out there, and so on. During the first part of the year, we can summarize at a very high level that we've seen a steady rise in phishing attacks, banking trojans, and other threats. And we'll take a deep dive into this data to see how our CSP customers understand the changing landscape, the threat landscape, and we can compare it to periods in the past. So we'll have a comparative view of what happened recently and what's been happening in previous periods, which I believe will be very interesting for you. Now, after we present the report, we're going to take a closer look at the connected home, one of the more vulnerable places in today's threatscape. We will discuss market trends around connected home security and delve into how CSPs can take advantage of these trends to secure subscribers and increase revenues. And to do all this, I'm very pleased to have with me two returning guests. They've been on these webinars with me in the past. I'm very pleased to, again, share the airspace with them. First of all, with Aaron Olivares, cybersecurity analyst on the Allot Secure team, and with Eduardo Olgado, Director of Product Management. Aaron, Eduardo, thank you for joining me again.
Hi, good morning, everyone.
Hi, morning. Thank you, Barry, for having me again.
It's a pleasure. Okay, so in a moment, I'm going to turn the microphone over to Aaron, who'll present our findings in this report. But before we do that, very quickly, some housekeeping items. Firstly, the webinar is being recorded and will be available on demand on the resources section of the website under webinars. We will be having a live Q&A at the end of this webinar today. So I invite you to ask questions. Use the Q&A tab at the bottom of the Zoom screen, and we will answer as many of them as we can. And if we don't have time for all of them, then we will get back to you offline. I also want to point out that the report itself, the cyber threat report, will be sent to you in the coming days. So look out for the emails that we'll be sending you after the webinar. I think with that, Aaron, I think we're ready to go. So why don't you take over?
Great, thank you, Barry. The Allot cyber threat report covered real customer and SMB protected by the Allot Secure solution, deployed via leading CSP in Europe. Allot Secure offers network security solution for service provider. It is the only security as a service solution for the mass market. Allot Secure blocks threats before reaching the subscriber via zero touch, no hassle, network-based service. CSPs in Europe have implemented the solution and currently protected over 20 million consumers and SMB customers who have registered and pay extra monthly fee for the cybersecurity protection service.
Let me just jump in and point out that not only European CSPs have adopted this solution. In this report, we're going to be focusing on European telco data, but
correct.
Literally around the world, telcos have been adopting solutions.
Correct, very correct. There are two main types of protection events for Allot Secure. The vast majority of protection are pre-blocks, which mean we block the user from navigating to a malicious domain or performing a connection to a malicious domain, either on background on connecting on purpose. And this includes malicious download pages, phishing, and other fraudulent sites. The download blocks occur when a site attempts to download malicious code, meaning viruses, malware, all type of Trojan, etc. And Allot Secure blocks it. Most of the time, the user will be blocked from ever navigating to such sites. Since the beginning of the year until May, Allot Secure blocked more than 4.65 billion with a B threats from harming consumer and SMB users. Let's start with the ratio of customers protected. This percentage is extracted from all the subscribers with our service, and of those, getting the ratio of subscribers with a malicious blocking event. We are not considering the blocks coming from the content filter service, as they are not malicious. As it can be appreciated on the graph, on average, 17% of the customer was protected against any type of threat, either download or by connecting to a malicious URL. But on May, there's an increase till 26%. This is caused mainly due to more customers affected by Trojans on their terminal, as this increase is due to blocks of command and control servers of these Trojans. In addition to that, we can see clearly an increasing tendency for the end of this period, as the customer protected has been increasing since March. We can extract a message from this. All of us can be a target or suffer any type of cyber threats, even if we think we are not the objective of the cyber criminals. Now, let's take a comparison between the same period, but from the last year. As it can be appreciated, the threats have increased on average on a 776% compared to 2021. In terms of trends, it followed kind of the same pattern during the month of April and May, increasing on April and a slightly decrease on May. This graph shows us how the cyber threats are growing year after year, and that is necessary a service to protect us from all the threats that we can face while navigating the internet. We spend more and more time on the internet each year, not only for fun, but also doing shopping, gaming, etc. Practically everything we used to do in person, we are doing it using our devices on the internet. With the amount of threats that are out there, it's just a matter of time to encounter a cyber threat, and we need to be protected against them. Now, take a look at the categories of the URLs blocked. The vast majority of Allot network secure protections are pre-blocks, which mean we block the user from navigating to a malicious domain or URL that contain phishing or download other type of malware. In the previous report, we saw how adware was reigning among other threats. This period began the same way, but during March, we thought that we were starting to see a decrease on the adware category. There was a significant drop in terms of adware blocks during that month, but during April, it went straight back to the top.
Is that, by the way, just the previous slide that the V went down in March is because of this?
Yeah, correct.
Right.
Correct. This is what I wanted to show this. The blue line that you are seeing right now is the main reason of that decrease and increase, and it's unnatural. We know that it is already a well-known threat, but it is important to show the impact it has on the blocks. In order to obtain more information regarding the other threats, we need to zoom in a little bit on the other threats. Malicious download, spyware, and phishing are the rest of most important threats during this period of time. The URLs categorized as malicious download are URLs that either host any type of virus and trick the victim to download it, or act as a command and control server for an already installed malware. The main reason of this category increasing is not FluBot. In fact, FluBot command and control blocks decreased on a 257% compared to the previous year. We detected a rise on different CNC servers related with different banking Trojans, and it will be explained in the following slides. It is important to mention also that phishing is here and is still very active. Compared to the same period in 2021, phishing blocks has increased by 37%, going up from 47 million in 2021 to 64 million in 2022. Moving on to the download blocks occur when a site attempts to download malicious code, meaning viruses, malware, Trojan, etc. And Allot Secure blocks the download. The most common download blocks continue to be Trojans and adware, shown in yellow and shown in pink, and orange. We see that they mirror each other in a sort of dance in terms of percentage of total blocks per month. This is because they interact and feed off each other. For example, if a customer has a terminal infected with an adware, the redirection that this adware may cause will include website hosting malware, including Trojan. Likewise, a terminal infected with a Trojan will try to download additional malware in background, including adware, and therefore increasing the amount of adware viruses blocked. Adware and Trojan promote each other. I don't want to focus on this, as this is the usual, and instead of looking at this, I want to take a look at the rest of the threats. While looking at the graph, we notice that the rest of most important threats in terms of percentage were Trojan bankers, mainly focused just on stealing banking credentials, malware, and spyware. The first thing catching our attention is the huge increase of the banking Trojan during the month of January, and how it started slowly decreasing till March. This is mainly due to the return of Emotet, a well-known banking Trojan during that period of time. This is not only reflected in the bar graph of download blocks, but also on the pre-blocks. On the image of the right, we see two increments of command and control blocks, and important to mention, taking out of the equation the Flubot CNC blocks. The first increment is by 47%, and the second is by 550%. But why is that? Going back to the bar graph, we are able to see a change in the tendency, an attack using banking Trojans, and we being able to protect our customer from those attacks. Most of the banking Trojan need a command and control server to communicate with in order to send or receive instructions. So if a customer is not using the operator network and we can't be there to protect him, the virus could end up installing the terminal. But it still needs the command and control. That's why the banking Trojan attack is shown in the CNC blocks in the pre-blocks. It is spread during January, but its effects are shown in February or March as CNC blocks. It is important to remember that as long as we are blocking the communication between the virus and the command and control server, the virus will remain harmless and perform no damage at all to the terminal. Let's see some example of the different banking Trojans and other CNC we blocked during this period. It started with the Medusa banking Trojan. We protected our customer 402,000 times from connecting to the CNC of Medusa. It is a very, very dangerous banking Trojan that behaves similar to Flubot. Its method of infection is through smishing, meaning that the victim will receive an SMS disguised as a legitimate company, such as DHL, or to update the Flash player, that tries to trick the victim to download the malware. It appeared for the first time in 2020, only targeting Turkish organization, but during 2021, it switched its focus to Europe and North America. This Medusa banking Trojan can intercept and reply directly to push notification. It also has almost complete access to the victim's device. It can intercept SMS, harvest the contact list, perform overlay attack, and also have a keylogin behavior, meaning that it will intercept all password written if the terminal is infected. Other Trojan that is back is the Joker Trojan. The Joker Trojan was a well-known malware back then during 2020, and apparently is coming back during 2022. It was blocked more than 300,000 times, And its method of infection is disguised itself as legitimate application on official stores, such as Google Play, avoiding security protections. While inside the terminal, it can interact with advertisement websites and subscribe the victim to premium services without knowing it. This results on multiple charges to the banking account, but not only that, it can also steal any type of information in the terminal. We believe that by this return of the Joker, that the cyber criminals behind the Joker Trojan are testing again how it's performing during 2022 to start launching massive attacks again.
I got to tell you that you're scaring me with your pictures here.
Yeah, it's a good choice.
Of the Medusa and the Joker.
Those are good choices. Moving on with the CNC, we found another CNC that is back again. It seemed like the cyber criminals are returning to the old threats during this 2022. The X-Loader. The X-Loader is a login stealer, meaning that it will steal all type of login information the victim introduced while the device is infected. It is downloaded from fake hosting pages. You have an example on the image of top. On there, we can see the difference between the legitimate one and the fake one. On the website used by the cyber criminals, the images are not loading properly, and the logo of the company is not the legitimate one. This virus was very active, as I said, some years ago, but as the one we've seen in the previous slide, it is coming back during 2022. We blocked 17 different URLs since the beginning of the year. All of those URLs were blocked more than 25,000 times. It may seem a low amount compared to other threats, such as Omnature, but we have to bear in mind that these URLs require the user interaction, meaning that the user needs to click on it and go in on purpose in order to block it. Another thing that is a boom during 2022 are the crypto scams. The crypto scams have changed a lot since the beginning, since the cyber criminals thought a way to obtain profit of them. The major boom of crypto miner was during 2017, 2018, when some websites allowed the use of certain scripts in order to mine cryptocurrency for certain pools. The cyber criminals saw this and injected the script on multiple websites. So any person that connected to that website will be mining cryptocurrency for the cyber criminal without noticing. There were also multiple legitimate programs exploited with this script. The danger of this type of threats is that they use practically all of your terminal resources, as it can be appreciated on the picture on the right, meaning that it could lead to battery drain or critical failures in the hardware of the terminal. Besides, they had to mine as much as they could, as it was noticeable by the victim that something wrong was on his device. It worked slow, the battery life was draining too fast, overheat of the device. This was back then. Let's take a look at what they are doing now with the crypto scam. By copying the original crypto wallet or mining pool website, the cyber criminals have lower chance of being discovered. As we saw in the previous slide, by using viruses or scripts that use the device resources, they can be easily caught, as the terminal will see, as I said, its battery drain much faster than usual, for example. On this example, they just need to wait for the victim to log into the website and take the credential in order to steal the virtual coin by making a transaction to their crypto wallet. It is important to add that these transactions leave almost no track, as the cyber criminal doesn't just make one movement. They move the money from one account to another, making it even harder to track. The reward is instantaneous. On the previous example, the cyber criminal has to be using the device resources to mine cryptocurrency for a period of time. On this case, they obtain what they want immediately. It is less suspicious, doesn't overheat the device, is untraceable, and they get an instant reward. This does not mean that the old crypto threats are over. In fact, they are still very present, and they are using IP addresses as method of infection and as command and control to avoid, for example, DNS protections. Even though they are trying to bypass the different security services, we are able to block it. These IP addresses are just few examples of the increment of crypto threats with block compared to 2021. It grew at 705% compared to the same period from the previous year. This is normal, as we have seen how the cryptocurrencies are being used on more situations, such as in the NFTs or even in the new play-to-earn games. On this game, for example, you need cryptocurrency and a crypto wallet to start playing. And in theory, you can win more cryptocurrency the more you play, but all is tied to the value of the cryptocurrency. Coming back to the IP addresses, those are related with an X file, a .x file named bgminer.x. It used, as we have previously seen on this presentation, your device resources to mine the cryptocurrency. The IP addresses communicate with the virus in order to provide instructions such as when to start mining, for example, at night hours, to be less likely detected, how many resources use, or where to transfer the cryptocurrency mine. This affects not only the device, reducing its lifetime, but also affects to the user experience, making the terminal run slower than usual, or having the battery decreasing faster and wasting the gigas of the internet. And that's it. Thank you very much for your time.
All right, Aaron, thank you very much. I guess the bad news here is that the bad guys have been pretty busy. I guess the good news is that we, the good guys, together with our telco partners, have also been busy and protecting subscribers via Allot Secure. So thank you for
exactly.
that. Okay. All right. So folks, if you have questions on this, send them in. We will get to them again at the end of the presentation. So now I'd like to bring Eduardo into the conversation. Eduardo, we've on these webinars, we've talked about in the past the connected home and how it's increasingly under threat. So let's dive a little bit deeper into it over here. So why don't you take over from here?
Sure. Thanks, Barry. Thanks, Aaron. Very interesting research indeed. Hi, everyone. So let's talk about the threats of the connected home. But this time, instead of using our own data, we are going to use data and analysis done by third parties to see how that matches what we are seeing internally. First of all, what we know is that homes are getting smarter, right? So when we look at the number of IoT devices in the houses all over the planet, basically, they are increasing exponentially. When we look at typical ones like speakers, cameras, appliances, these are doubling, right? So when we look at this year and the expectation in the coming years, each and every category pretty much is doubling in size. Now, what this means is that we are introducing additional doors in our house for hackers to get in, okay? So each and every one of them is going to be an entry point that we have to make sure we are protecting in the right manner. Now let's look at the security threats. So a growing issue these days is identity theft. And this is not only affecting adults, it's also affecting children. And this is quite interesting, I thought, because in general, we think, I am the adult, I have a credit card, I have the money, right? And they are going to target me. Yes, but also the children. Why? Because at the end of the day, when in my particular case, if I was to be attacked, there are systems on many different countries that are measuring the credit that I have, the credit trust that I could prove to a bank, right? So for example, if I am owning too much money, or if I am getting too many loans, then this credit rating is going to reflect that. It's going to reflect that I owe money. So in general, if I was to be attacked and my ID was to be exposed somewhere, then I could find out. Okay, it can happen. But in the case of the children, because they are not asking for loans, they are not asking for money from the bank, what happens is that if their identity gets compromised, sometimes they will not find out until they go to college and ask for a loan from the bank, right? And that's when the bank will say, hey, your name is on a blacklist, you have been targeted, okay? So I thought that was kind of an interesting one. In general, these attacks come from phishing and also that kid visiting the content that it shouldn't be visiting. Now, when we look at what the experts are out there are seeing, is that basically these guys, the threat actors, are coming back for consumers. Why? Because yes, traditionally they have focused on large, big enterprises, but now they have a set of tools, a set of automated tools that they can use to make fast profits. And this applies for both, also small businesses, very small businesses, and consumers, because they know these guys don't really have proper protection in place. So they just try, and if they are successful, they get their reward, and if not, then they will continue with the next one. And this is something that is not a secret. Consumers know about it. In fact, 9 in 10 consumers worry about these threats, and they are expecting an attack in the next 12 months, right? So they know that there is an issue that they need to solve. When we look at the complaints and losses, sorry, one back, over the last 5 years, this is also reflecting how the issue is manifesting itself, right? So the users are complaining, are actively saying, I have an issue. And what we see there is on one side, the number of complaints, so the blue bars, so that is obviously growing over time. And also the losses, because it's not just me being annoyed because I was hacked, it's also money that I am losing, right? So if my credit card is being stolen and there are charges on my bank account, it's money that I am losing. So yeah, it's a big issue. Next, please. Okay. So now if we look at the threats out there, and again, this is using external data, is using an external company, and this is again just to see how it compares to what we are seeing internally. And in fact, it's showing the same picture, right? So we see the Trojans and the adware that go hand in hand, as Aaron was saying, they go together. They're the biggest issue out there these days. But then, of course, we also have miners, right, that are mining cryptocurrency, that are using the resources of your devices. And of course, what do you see? What you see is that the battery is going down, that your device is not working. It's very frustrating. And at the end of the day, in the world of the operator, if my device is compromised, I might even think the operator is the one to blame, right? Because I got the device from them, my device is going really slow, I'm going to switch to a different operator and I get a new device. And effectively it's going to fix the issue because I am getting a new device. But that operator could protect his users by just adding a good layer of protection like the one we are offering. Next, please. Okay, and we cannot neglect parental controls, because at the end of the day, we were talking about identity theft, how it's not just the adult in the family being targeted, it's also the kids, right? So on one hand, when we look at the picture on the left, so here, this is a big issue, it's a growing issue, we all know that. So adult content is available on the internet, is very easy to find. So even, and this is not just the minimum age, is the average age. Okay, so just 11 is the average age where kids are watching adult content. I think that's really bad, personally. So that is something that parents really want, not need, but also want to do something about, okay, to make sure that kid is protected and make sure that that kid is not accessing inappropriate content for their age. And also another big issue is hate, right? We all know that these kids are being exposed to a world of adult content. There are many bad people there, chats, forums, all of these places that it's just, just going, as I see it, it's just like going to the street on your own, right? With no defense, no one going with you, and just, it's a really difficult issue, right? Because these guys are going to be targeted, these kids, and they are going to suffer as a result of it. So again, we have to find the right way to protect these kids.
It's not a comforting statistic at all.
No, not at all. No, it's 1 out of 2, so 50%. So it's really, really bad. Okay, so it's we have to again protect these kids, because otherwise that is going to show clearly on their attitude, and the issues you are going to have as a parent is going to be way bigger. Okay, so let's see how we address all of these issues, and this time we are going to focus on Allot Secure. Okay, Allot Secure, and more specifically Home Secure, the solution to protect homes. So now what we see right here is what can be a usual representation of the network of an operator. So we see on the left radio access, right? So all of these devices connecting over 4G, 5G. Bottom left, we see router access, and this can be fixed access or fixed wireless access. At the end of the day, a router, right, that they have at their home. And then they have their CSP network. And of course, you have the situation where the kid, or even yourself, you're working from home, you're going to a coffee shop. At the end of the day, whenever you are connecting to a new network, is again another door to protect. Okay. So we offer a number of solutions. We start with network-based solutions, and it all depends really on what the operator in question wants to do and how wants to protect their users. Network-based solutions are interesting in the sense that they are very fast to just enable and protect your subscribers as a whole, okay, from the network, completely zero touch. And here we have two different alternatives. We have network secure, which is based on the on looking at the traffic and even seeing not just domains and URLs, but also IP addresses, as Aaron was showing before, because again, we see that hackers tend to rely more and more on direct IP to IP communication to bypass DNS filtering solutions. That can happen. But also, of course, we also have a DNS secure solution because we understand some operators might prefer to go that way. Okay, so this is based on pure DNS-based filtering. Now, when we look at the home, so we have our solution called Home Secure. Home Secure consists of a lightweight agent that we deploy on the router. Okay, and basically this is the router of the operator. There is no need for additional hardware, and this agent is going to protect not just the information and the data going out or coming in, but also the router itself, which I think is quite interesting because the routers are also being targeted. And on top of that, also the internal traffic in the network, right? Because it might be that device A is trying to communicate with device B because it's infected, okay? And we want to protect that as well. But then it can happen that these devices, go somewhere else. You go to a coffee shop, you go to the airport, the kid goes to visit a friend, right? And we don't want the kid to use the phone and then access the wrong content while he is visiting a friend. So because of these situations, we can also offer endpoint secure on top to complement and enhance that protection and take that protection wherever you go, basically. Okay. And then, and this is the interesting part, right? This is what I think we are good at, really good at, and what we are really bringing to the table, and is pure unification across all of these services. So at the end of the day, as a consumer, I don't really want to know that you have network secure or home secure, whatever. I don't really care. I want to be protected. What we are doing here is we are unifying, first of all, all of that configuration. So if I want my kit to be protected against threats, and I want my kid to not visit any adult content, I will create the policy once, and that policy is going to be enforced across all of these different solutions automatically, okay? And also reporting, because I don't want to know what network secure found out or home secure separately. I want all of it together, okay? So I will see all of this information unified. Now, what is the value here? So I mentioned some of the key points, but at the end of the day, there are quite important items that we really have to take care of if we want to offer a solution to the mass market, if we want to offer a solution to consumers. First of all, it has to be really straightforward, okay? So it doesn't make sense that I am trying to offer a solution and then the subscriber doesn't really understand. And we cannot think about the 30, 40 guy that is very tech savvy and knows how to do his thing, because this is a small percentage of the population. We have to think about less technical people. We have to think about old people, young people, all of the people, right? This is mass market. So it has to be really straightforward. It shouldn't require any IT degree or IT background to understand it and use it. And also, it shouldn't require additional hardware to be deployed, okay? So I shouldn't need to deploy an additional box in my house and connect it and maintain it, and that is just a pain, okay? So we have to be able to use existing equipment. Then this cannot be at the compromise of security, right? So it cannot be that I'm giving you a very simple solution, but at the same time, it's not proper security. So we really take care of that. And you are seeing it on the numbers, right? So the security that we offer here, we want it to be the best on the market, really. And we have multiple layers. So it's not only the traffic going up, as we said. So for example, I am visiting a malicious domain. Also the traffic going down when I am downloading a malicious piece of code, I am also blocking that. So it's a number of things, right? Protecting the CPE, as I was saying, from being attacked, or even protecting the internal traffic inside the house. But then when we look at, we said at the beginning that there are many different IoT devices. This is exponentially growing. I have the IP camera, even the fridge, right, is talking to the internet these days. So what is really important for the consumer is that I am not just seeing, I don't know, 30, 40, 50 items on a console and I don't know what they are. So what we are doing is we are fingerprinting them. And what this allows us to do is to tell you what type of device this is. Basically that will allow you to say, look, this is the policy that I want for that device. So if I am seeing the gaming console of my child, I can just assign that console to my child and it will automatically inherit the policies of my child. So she cannot use the game console to watch the wrong content, okay? And also the fridge, maybe I don't want the fridge to do specific things, right? So again, I can create like a standardized policy for IoT devices. These are things that I can do very easily, okay? And also whenever we identify IoT devices, we provide tailored protection for those devices because they behave a bit differently. Then when we look at the CPE, and this is the agent that we have on the device, this has to be very, very lightweight. It cannot be that we are deploying something on the router and then all of a sudden your internet connection becomes really slow. Okay, so we really focus on this and we make sure that when we are using an agent that is being deployed on the mass market, that is not affecting the performance of the router or the throughput, the bandwidth of the connection. And of course, the solution has to be built for multi-tenancy, because at the end of the day, if it is not built for multi-tenancy, it's going to increase the TCO, the total cost of ownership, and the operator will not be able to offer it at a price that the end user can afford. Okay, and as we were saying before, if I take the device somewhere else, we can always complement it with endpoint secure to take that protection with you. So this is in brief how the solution looks like. So you have the agent, what we call here the CPE agent, the router agent being deployed on the router. Okay, so this is something that we are doing together with the operator and the manufacturer of the router. This is being controlled by the solution backend that the operator can deploy in their own network, in public cloud, they can choose. And all of this at the end of the day is being managed by the consumer using an app. Okay, so very simple, very simple. From that app, I am creating my users, I am defining my policies, that's it. and all of the threat intelligence, all of the content filtering. So for example, in order for us to know that domain.com belongs to gambling, all of this information is something that is being sent to the backend, as you see there from the Allot database. These are 24/7 updates that happen very frequently, and we make sure this database is as updated as possible. So now we were saying earlier about the key values a solution has to have. So first of all, it has to be really straightforward. This is a representation of how the app can look like at the end of the day. Each and every customer of ours will make some customization to it. Sometimes they change the color. Sometimes they create their own app using our REST API interface, which is very easy to do such a thing. But at the end of the day, again, it's important that when the consumer logs in, it immediately gets the value, understands the value of the solution, and it's not really difficult for me to know what I have to do. So you have like a dashboard where you see your key KPIs, the protection that you are getting, what malware you are being protected from, your users, and of course your devices. Okay. Quite important as well, we were saying that we don't want that consumer to deploy an additional box, an additional piece of hardware at home. So because of that, we are the CPE, that piece of code, that lightweight piece of code is being integrated with many different vendors, okay? But also, of course, if the operator is using a different one, we look into it and we collaborate with that router manufacturer to integrate the CPE, the home secure CPE agent in it. When it comes to security, we said before, okay? So it cannot be that I am giving you a very simple solution that at the end of the day is not properly protecting you. So on one side, I am looking at the traffic going out. So if you are trying to access any malware, phishing, spyware, botnet, ransomware, just to mention a few, I am looking at the traffic and then blocking it if I know it's malicious. But then it's quite important to also look at the internal protection, right? Because many of these devices might get compromised, whatever the reason, and they are, do what is known as lateral movement. They move internally from one device to the other, and they compromise at the end of the day your entire network. So we also have to look at internal traffic, and we have multiple protection layers in place. Like, for example, if a device was to try to do a brute force attack to log into another device internally, we can identify that. A port scan, which is the typical one. Once a hacker compromises a device, I want to know what ports are opened in the network to then understand what services are running behind it. And then if I know the vulnerabilities, I can get in there very easily. Port forwarding, so if I have a device being exposed to the internet, common device passwords, right? I mean, this is very commonly used, Mirai attacks, all of these. I mean, they just know the common passwords. They know people do not change them. So I just need to go and and try to log in, right? That's all I need to know. Try the usual password, and many times they are successful because people don't really change these passwords. Identifying devices without an antivirus installed, quite important, right? Because at the end of the day, we believe it's the only way, right, to have a multi-layer protection. So we can identify for you what devices do not have an antivirus in place. So you are aware of it and install one if needed. Then, for example, as I was saying before, IoT, for IoT devices, they behave on a relatively static manner. So if they are creating new connection flows that we have never seen before, we can flag those for you so you can block them. So these are just some examples, okay? Then quite important as well, and we know there are attacks on the field that target the CPE, the router specifically, not the users behind the device, the router specifically, okay? So we implement a number of layers of protection to protect this device. First of all, what we call the destination allowed list. At the end of the day, the router itself doesn't really have to communicate with the whole of the internet, okay? The devices behind it, yes, but not the router. So the router at the end of the day normally communicates with very well-defined destinations, like what is known as the ACS servers of the operator, okay, that are used to manage these routers. DNS servers, of course, to resolve DNS queries, and NTP servers are the usual examples, okay? My router doesn't have to be able to go to domain.com, okay? That is not needed. So in order to address that, and again, this is a common way for hackers to compromise the router, to get in there, deploy some malware, and then connect to a command and control server. This way is a very effective way of drastically mitigating that kind of attack, because at the end of the day, I'm only allowing certain destinations for this device, okay? And this is defined by the operator. Then DNS tampering, this is another common attack. So I get into the router as a hacker, I change the DNS servers, and then what happens? All of the devices are using me, my malicious servers are DNS server, so I can just take all of that traffic and see it and do whatever I need to do with it. Okay, this is a typical one, it happens. So what we are doing here is we allow the operator to define what is known as safe DNS servers. So if a hacker was to be able to compromise that device, then the device is basically ignoring that and using the safe servers that the operator has defined. Weak Wi-Fi password. This is one of the typical entry points to a network. So that weak Wi-Fi password that you can kind of guess with not too much effort, we can flag that for the user so the user can go and change it. We also talked about the threat intelligence, okay? And this is quite important because, again, it doesn't make sense to give something simple that then at the end of the day is not really doing much. We are very proud of our database. I think this is one of the critical items of our solution to provide the value that we are providing and show the blocks that Aaron was showing before. This database is fed from many different sources, including, as you see there, external feeds, because we are also working with very well-known partners that are sharing this intelligence with us and that we are adding to our database. Of course, manual categorization requests, we have millions of customers, so it can be that they identify a threat that we have never seen before. So wherever in the world this customer is, we get it and then we analyze it, and then if it's right, we add it to the database. Then when we go to for example, to a new operator, right? Let's say they are interested on us, they test our solution, and that's what they are supposed to do, right? I don't want to deploy something that then at the end is going to not do the job for me, or not block match, or even more problematic, is going to give me false positives. Okay, so it's very important that the operators are testing the solution, and this is what we are seeing, and this is what they are doing. Okay, so they are testing our solution and verifying that the solution is the right one, and very typically we come on top all the time, pretty much. Okay. So we have that. Then we have other fields, like, for example, a threat research team that is looking on the web and seeing new threats and adding new URLs to the database. And also an interesting one, some operators can enable a mechanism that basically allows the solution to upload unclassified traffic. Okay. Is of course, fully aggregated and anonymized, so we only see the domains, and then we analyze this, and then if these are malicious or belong to a category, we will classify them and get them into the database. And who is doing this? The content classification team. Okay, what you see on the bottom right, these guys are dedicated 24/7 to this. Okay, so you can reach out to them anytime in the day, and we provide a response time of up to 30, I'm saying 30 minutes, because that is just to be on the safe side, but typically it's less than 10 minutes, but they will review your request and they will correct it if needed. And once that happens, then the data update is being published and pushed to all of our installations worldwide. Fingerprinting, we said this before. If I have 40 devices in my home, I don't want to see 40 items and I don't know what they are. I don't know what to do with them. So what we are doing is we are fingerprinting them. Okay, so the solution is doing that. And it identifies all the type, which can be a games console, a laptop, an IP camera, the operating system, and other info. And when I see that as a homeowner, then that allows me to very easily just assign a user a policy to it. A negligible CP footprint, because at the end of the day, we said that if we are deploying something there and it's going to make my router very, very slow, I will not like the solution as a consumer, and I will immediately call my operator to go and cancel it. Okay, so we spent quite a lot of effort on making it as light as possible. So as you can see there, we can even work with very, very old CPEs with very, very little system resources. And built for multi-tenancy, very, very important, okay? Because again, if the solution is a kind of like an enterprise solution that I'm trying to push to the mass market, it's not gonna work. It's not gonna work because the resources that is going to require on the operator side are going to be way higher. And then the solution is not built to allow each and every subscriber to go and log in and change settings, okay? That's not gonna happen. So all of our solutions are built not for consumers, but for operators to offer them to consumers. So they are built with multi-tenancy in mind from the ground up to be able to cover millions of subscribers from one single installation. And that's the end of it from my side.
All right, Eduardo, thank you very much for the briefing. I think we've tied it all together. On the one hand, we've seen all the threats that are literally exploding and affecting people, subscribers. We've seen the way the CSPs protect them and what they're protecting them with. So, we sort of have the whole picture here. We have a few minutes before the top of the hour, and I have a couple of questions that I will ask you that I've seen that have come in. But before I do that, I just want to very quickly sort of give a sneak peek to our audience and maybe plug for the upcoming webinar that we're going to do on July 27th. In the middle of July, we're going to be releasing a report that Frost Sullivan, one of the main research companies in the world, is putting together that to a very large part is going to be touching on this very same connected home that Eduardo, you went into in such detail. It's being written by Jared Carlton, who's the Global Research Director at Frost Sullivan. And like I said, it should be released sometime in the middle of July. We may issue it in conjunction with another webinar that we'll be doing on the 27th of July, in which we're going to be talking with Ian Parks from Coleman Parks Research in London on a recent survey that they did of telco CMOs, chief marketing officers at telcos from around the world, on their perceptions of providing cybersecurity services to their subscribers. It will be very interesting. I'll point out that this is the third analyst paper that we will be releasing this year. One from Tag Cyber, which you can get if you contact us. One from IDC that you can also get that, and now the Frost & Sullivan one, which is in very large way basically looking at the overall picture as it affects cybersecurity for consumers and the opportunity for CSPs. This is all third-party validation, all very interesting stuff. I'm going to add on the chat here for everyone my direct email. You certainly could reach out to me and either get it from our website or by reaching out to me, and I'll be happy to send this out to you. So I just posted my email on the chat, so feel free to go there. So in the very few minutes that we have left, I'm going to go to a couple of questions that we have, and then I believe we'll probably have to answer the rest of them offline, Eduardo and Aaron, because I see more questions coming in. So let me start with my questions, and we'll get back to everyone else offline who are adding the questions as we speak, as I see the questions coming in as we speak, and we're not going to be able to get to all of them. So Aaron, let me start with you. As we've seen in your slides, you focus on crypto scams. But I think that we've all seen that the price of different cryptocurrencies have gone down. I mean, Bitcoin, good God, I mean, it's really dropped in the last couple of months. So, I don't know, the question's being asked here, shouldn't the cyber criminals focus on other threats rather than crypto? What's your take on it?
That's a good question, because in fact, it's the opposite. I mean, more and more people, now that the value have dropped, are joining to the game as they see an opportunity to have their money grow over time, hoping that the value goes back again to a top. So the cyber criminals focus on this newcomers as they doesn't have the knowledge nor the expertise to operate and differentiate what's legitimate. In addition to that, when the value of the cryptocurrency is low, people who wants to operate with it tends to buy more quantity of it. So they are spending more money than when the value is high.
Okay. Let me ask you a second question that we got that's related to you. Adware is still the most blocked category we saw. Is it just annoying, or is it considered malware, or can we consider it malware?
Yeah, we cannot deny that a big part of the adware is annoying, but that doesn't end there. I mean, when we talk about adware, we usually think about these annoying pop-ups, but there are multiple types of it. So one of them, for example, is the browser hijacker, which literally hijack the browser, meaning that it will change the result you obtain from the different search engines, such as Google, to promote website of the cyber criminals that can also download additional malware. And it's not only that, the redirection an adware can cause, the normal redirections, can have as an objective to download additional malware as well. So we have to start thinking of the adware as some type of channel to download additional malware and infect even more your terminal.
Okay. And here, let's do this last question because we're really out of time. Everyone else will get back to you offline. Eduardo, I think this is more for you. There are many security apps out there available to consumers. Why would security as a service be successful for an operator?
Yeah, very good question, right? If I am a consumer and just go to the App Store or to Google Play, I can see all of these different apps, right? But not only there, I can also go on the internet and see all of these different endpoint vendors. At the end of the day, I mean, that requires a number of steps on the consumer side, like, first of all, having the desire to look for these applications, then going and say, okay, now I'm going to sit down, I am going to look for them, I am going to see which one is better for me. Okay, now I have decided I'm going to download it, I'm going to install it, going through all of that complexity. Normally, these are things that you have to install on each and every device. So if you have a bunch of devices, it's not going to be something you finish in one afternoon. And then to complement all that, these solutions that you can get on the internet, they're going to be more expensive. Okay, so you will have to pay more money. Let's compare that to a service that your operator is offering for you. So it's right here. Here's the service. You can just enable it. Okay, zero touch. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to install anything. Okay. That is, of course, complemented with our bulletproof go-to-market strategy. We work together with operators to properly design that go-to-market strategy and make sure it's a success. And of course, the results that we are seeing, right? Because it's not something you just sell, activate, and does nothing. It provides protection. So the consumer will perceive that value, will see the value, and that is the perfect recipe to achieve, as we are seeing in many operators, a 50% plus adoption rate.
Very true, very true. Well, guys, we've really hit the crunch time here, literally a minute to the top of the hour. We value your time. So we're going to conclude here. We'll get back to folks offline with the other questions. I want to take the opportunity to thank both you, Aaron and Eduardo, for joining me again today. It was very interesting. I've enjoyed it, and I hope our audience has as well. And I want to thank the audience, all our viewers, for joining as well. We know you're busy. We don't take your participation for granted. The session has been recorded. We will be sending the recording to you as well, and within a couple of days, you'll be getting the actual CTR report. So with that, we've reached the conclusion of today's event. We look forward to hosting you again on our upcoming webinars. Thank you all for joining, and stay safe and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.